Okay. Hello, everybody. This is an extremely important broadcast regarding the movement, the terror movement of Hamas, and a lot of disinformation that exists about this organization. Now, in view of all of the unfolding events, horrific events that we are witnessing, I think it is extremely crucial to make these distinctions and explain about this disinformation that most people sometimes that pose supports of Hamas or of Palestine or free Gaza, free Palestine, and so on, do not necessarily understand what they are supporting. Now, I'm not here to make claims or to present a view that is either that comes to express a certain political view or a stand just because I'm an Israeli. Okay, of course, my view of Hamas is that as an Israeli is horrific. I view it as a terror group that has no right to exist on the face of the earth. But I'm not here to come and try to convince anybody about what kind of views he should have. But he should be very careful not to develop views based on misinformation. Even if you, let's say, are not pro-Israeli or whatever, but still, everybody should, for their own benefit. Because sometimes you can support something that you think is just, but you will support it against your own interest. And therefore it is extremely important to discuss facts. And facts is not something that you can dispute. Okay, facts is they have no views or opinions or political views or enemies or whatever. You cannot be the enemy of the truth. You cannot oppose the truth unless you want to be mistaken. And if you want to be mistaken, then you are on the wrong side. Okay? So this is not a political broadcast about the question of what is right, of what is moral and what is not moral, who is right or who is wrong in the terms of some sort of argument, political argument, military argument or whatever. It's just about facts. So fact number one is that a lot of people think that Hamas is a Palestinian organization. Okay? That the essence of Hamas is the liberation of Palestine and the liberation of the Palestinian people. This is one of the most dangerous lies about Hamas that you can think of. Okay? Even if you are an American, let's say, you are against Israel, you find Israel as a colonialist, oppressive, occupying country, whatever. Okay, it is not, but let's assume it is. Okay, it's not. But again, let's leave the politics aside. You might be doing immense harm to the Palestinians by making a synonymous identification between Hamas and Palestine. Why? The reason is the following. Let's assume now a situation, a theoretical, imaginary situation in which there are no Jews in the Middle East. There is just Palestinians. Okay? Even in such a situation, Hamas will be a threat toward the Palestinian population within the Middle East. Why? Because Hamas is not just a Palestinian organization, it is a radical Islamic Palestinian organization, which means that Hamas views itself as the enemy of more than half of the Palestinians themselves. You will not believe it, but you need to understand the amount of disinformation that you are under. Okay? Don't believe it? Let me show you. The Palestinians in general are actually not so different from very different, but not so different in conception from Israeli society, are quite non-homogeneous as a group. They have many different sub categories and sub-population. Okay? Where a very large group of the Palestinian society, okay, is non-Muslim. Or even if they are Muslim, they are moderate Muslims. Okay? Meaning, they clearly identify as Muslims. They maybe even pray 5 times in a day, but they are not Hammas. They are not the ultra-radical Islamic regime that is Hammas. Okay? And Hammas are the enemies of these Palestinians. Just to give you an example, a very clear example. Gaza used to have a Christian Palestinian minority. Always had. Since hundreds of years, there were Christians in Gaza. Today, there is no one Christian in the within the Gaza Strip. Why? Did Israel kill them? Who killed them? Who transported them? Who uprooted them? Who sent them to live somewhere else? Hamas. Why? Because Hamas is a radical Islam organization. It's not just Palestinian. Okay? So all and this is something that I don't think most people realize. Okay? Put Israel aside. We're speaking just as an inner Palestinian issue. Hamas is the enemy of many, many Palestinians living in the Middle East. So by supporting Hamas, you are actually posing a threat on a very large group of the Palestinian population. Because Hamas extinguished the Christians living in Gaza. Not only that, as you know, the Palestinian people have 2 separate governments. One, and again, these are things that people that I think that are in the United States, that are living in Europe, that are living in other countries, even Muslim countries sometimes, that do identify with the Palestinians. They want to help them, they want to support them, they want to improve the situation, and it is all legitimate. Every person would want to help his brothers, right? But they do not necessarily know that Hamas is taking the most Palestinians under hostage and is posing a threat for many others. Okay? So as you know, the Palestinians themselves have 2 separate governments within 2 separate sections of the Palestinian population, in 2 geographically separate parts of the Middle East, of this area, this region where Israel is. One of them is the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is where there is Hamas government, this ultra-radical Islamic regime that is called Hamas. The second part is the Ramallah part, what is called the West Bank. Within the West Bank live many, many other Palestinians. And in the last years, maybe, 15 years, they have been quite moderate. And to tell you the truth, Israel had quite fair and calm relationship with them so far. Hopefully it will remain like so. And not that they are pro-Israelis, they are not pro-Israelis. And it will take years until there will be really peace in the Middle East, whatever. But the Ramallah part is run by PLO, is run by the Palestinian Authority. This is the main chunk of Palestinians. This is when you speak about Palestine, you're actually mainly speaking about this population, the Ramallah West Bank population. You're not speaking about the Gaza Strip. And the Palestinian Authority that is run by Abu Mazen, okay, it's called the Rais of the Palestinian Authority, is under the movement of the PLO. The PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. This is an organization formed by Arafat. And this is the organization with which the Oslo agreements have been signed. Okay, it was the Oslo agreements moderated by the American government, and for which Arafat, Rabin, and Peres won the Nobel Peace Prize. And to tell you the truth, to a certain extent, there is something that might be even called a moderate peace between us. And the question is that I want to ask you, why can't the Palestinians from Ramallah and from the West Bank go and unite with the so-called brothers in the Gaza Strip? Why? Why aren't they cooperating together? Because they are enemies one of the other. Okay? This is something remarkable that most people are completely unaware of. Hamas is not just an enemy of Israel, it is an enemy of the Palestinian Authority. It is an enemy of the Palestinians, meaning that if today, let's put Israel out of the equation. If today Hamas would have been free, and let's like this slogan, free Palestine, free Gaza, not free Palestine, free Gaza, because the West Bank is free. The West Bank, okay, maybe there is some restrictions to go into Israel, but the West Bank is completely free. Just like I, as an Israeli citizen, I cannot enter the West Bank. I cannot enter the place where Abu Mazen is ruling. I cannot. And similarly, there is a border. But from the West Bank, they can freely travel to Jordan. They can travel freely to Syria, to Lebanon, to Iraq, to anywhere they want. So it's practically almost a state, yes? But why can't people from Gaza enter into the West Bank? Because they are enemies. Hamas want to kill the Arabs living in Ramallah because they are radical Muslim. They want a radical Muslim regime ruling over all the Middle East, and especially within the regions that they view as Palestine. Meaning that if they would have the ability, the problem is not just with Israel, as they tell you. The problem is with the Palestinians. They want to conquer the Palestinians, put them under a radical Muslim regime, not an ordinary Muslim regime. Okay, it's not a Muslim regime like in Jordan. It's not a Muslim regime like in Lebanon or in Egypt or any other Muslim country, even not like Saudi Arabia. It is radical Muslim regime like ISIS, in which if you maybe slightly violate the way they view the Quran, you will be executed. You don't believe me? There is a proof that this is so. Because originally, Hamas and the rest of the Palestinians were together, they were mixed together. In the time of Arafat, this distinction did not exist. Okay, it is amazing history that is so simple on the one hand, but most people simply don't know it. In the time of Arafat, when Arafat was still alive, Hamas and the rest of the Palestinian population lived together, side by side, not in coexistence. They were always fighting, warring, killing. They were literally killing. Hamas butchered other Palestinians. And after the death of Arafat, the situation was that within the regions of the Palestinian authorities at that time, including Gaza and Ramallah, Abu Mazen was too weak in order to fight against Hamas because they are so radical. They butchered their own people. They butchered Palestinians. And as a result, Abu Mazen needed to completely retreat from the Gaza Strip. He could not anymore contain it, and neither his population. And the relatively moderate population of within the Palestinian people, the one you really care for, the one when you say free Palestine, when you are referring to the Palestinians that you want them to be free, You are talking about the Palestinian Authority, and you're talking about also the Palestinians that are under Hamas government. The Palestinians under Hamas government, they are not free. If a woman there will want to maybe be a bit more moderately Islam and maybe not go with the burqa, she will be executed. That's not freedom. Okay? I mean, again and again, I'm posing no criticism over the culture and religion of any people. But once you need to kill people, if they are maybe want to live according to a different code, that's not exactly freedom. You must agree. If you want to kill people because they're not Muslims and they're Christians, that's not free Palestine. That's a dictatorship, a Muslim radical ISIS-style dictatorship. So when you are coming from the Western world and you are saying free Palestine with respect to Gaza, free Gaza and so on, you might be making a very serious mistake, and you might be actually endangering the same people you want to supposedly support, unless you have other agendas. But if your hatred towards Israel is so humongous that you are willing to support such a group in guise of supporting the Palestinians, you are using the Palestinians as a tool and as an instrument for your hatred of Israel, and you are harming them. Okay? So what happened back then, at the time when after Arafat died, is that Hamas butchered, slaughtered, killed PLO officials and PLO activists within Gaza, to such an extent that they literally butchered them. They done horrific crimes in the style of what they are doing against Israel, but against their own, against Palestinians. You must understand that. When you are opposing Hamas, it's not Hamas against Israel, it's Hamas against the whole rest of the world. They don't want Europe to exist as a non-Muslim state, as a non-Muslim continent. They want the whole world to be like them. They want a government that expands over all the world according to their views of radical fundamentalism. I won't even call it Islam, and you will soon see why. Okay? So they are not non-Palestinian organizations. They are anti-Palestine. True Palestine. When they say we want to liberate Palestine, they are saying we want to liberate Palestine from Jews, from Christians, from moderate Muslims, from anybody that is not them, including from the Palestinian Authority itself. They were dragging bodies of Palestinians, Abu Mazen officials. Horrific acts of butchery. Taunts the officials of the Palestinian Authority. Okay? So it's not just about Israel. You see? They disguise it as if it is their Palestinian view against Israel, because it looks good in the eyes of the world. But they are deceiving you. They are deceiving you against yourself. Because I'm amazed. Sometimes I'm amazed. You see Irish people from Ireland. And in Ireland, let's face it, this is a huge support for the Palestinians. Okay? But that's one thing. Okay, support for the Palestinians is one thing. But the Irish culture is so contradictory to the Hamas culture. Okay, it might not be contradictory to the Palestinian culture, but to the radical Islamic culture of Hamas. This is insane. If Hamas will enter an Irish pub, they will slaughter and kill every person in it, because alcohol is haram. Alcohol is not allowed. You're not allowed to drink whiskey in Gaza. If you will be seen with a bottle of whiskey in Gaza, you will be killed, slaughtered, beheaded. Not beer. If you will drink a beer, you will be beheaded. If you're a Christian Protestant or a Christian Catholic, you will be beheaded in Gaza. So how can you, as an Irish person, support Gaza? Support Hamas? I understand Palestine, but Hamas? These are people that view you as infidels, and want to kill you. It has nothing to do with Israel. It has to do with the way they view their fundamentalist doctrine. And if you will look at the original Hamas charter, written by the founders of Hamas, you will see that they write it very clearly, that they want universal Muslim domination over the whole world, not just Palestine. If you let them free, let's say free Gaza, free Hamas, the meaning of this, put Israel aside, is that if you will give them, these people, total freedom, they will kill you, they will kill your women, they will kill your children, they will Muslimize everybody that will stay alive, and that's it. Happy ever after. That is what you really want? This kind of people is the people you want to give freedom to? Look at your own countries. Look at Ireland. You want Ireland to turn into a Muslim country? You want London to turn into a Muslim city? You want Paris to be radical Muslim ISIS-style cities? What are you asking when you are saying you want these people to be free? And just to show you, it's not just Israel that does not want them to be free. They have a border with Egypt. Why does Egypt not want them free? Maybe because when they infiltrated Israel just last time, they butchered also Muslim Bedouins. They came into a Muslim Bedouin population and slaughtered everybody. And these people were begging, we're Muslims, we didn't do nothing to you. We are not even supporting of Israel. We're Bedouins. Bedouins living within Israel. So showed them that they're Muslims, speaking Arabic. And they killed them just because they're on the other side of the fence. Whenever these people will go out, they will kill. Can you support this? Let's put this aside. That was fact number one. Fact number one is that Hamas is anti-Palestinian. Supporting Hamas is the opposite of supporting Palestine. Supporting Hamas is the support of the occupation of Palestinians by radical Muslim, or I would not even call it Muslim, by some radical fundamentalist doctrine that is the exact opposite of freedom. People in Gaza have no freedom without it having anything to do with Israel. If a person in Gaza would want to listen to music, which is haram according to Hamas, if he would want to listen to any kind of music, he would be punished. If you will bring in a CD or a music video or whatever, or you know what? If you will plug them to the internet. Did you ask yourself, we are living today in the 21st century, okay? In the 21st century, we all have internet. Why don't these people communicate with you through social media, through these kind of channels, and actually show you in a way that you can communicate with them, like you communicate with me, their views? For a very simple reason. Internet in Hamas is haram. It's not haram because Israel is occupying them and is denying it from them and so on. They will not want it. They view it as evil. So they are occupying themselves, denying themselves from contact to the world. The last thing Hamas wants is freedom for its people, or them having internet and seeing all your love and support and so on. Because if they will see the Western world, Hamas will be destroyed. If you will really be able to talk to these people, Hamas government will be destroyed. So it's very easy to write Gaza under attack, Gaza under siege, Gaza under whatever. But you need to understand what is really ruling, governing over Gaza, over this part of the Palestinian people. And you're not liberating them by supporting Hamas. You're not. First thing said. Second thing is that Hamas is an anti-Muslim group, which might sound bizarre because they clearly say that they are Muslim. But in truth, they are not. In truth, they are not Muslim. They are a certain mutation of various different doctrines that have been fused together into a fundamentalist ideology that, in terms of real Islam, is heresy. It is non-Muslim, and not because they are supposedly suggesting jihad and so on. No, I'm not here to speak about moral criticism over whatever. Again, just facts. Hamas is anti-Muslim because in Islam, the land of Israel is not called Palestine. Let me say this again. In Islam, the land of Israel is called Israel. Okay? That's the Quran. The Quran makes no distinctions over states. According to true Islam, the whole world belongs to God. God the Almighty, and as he is called in Arabic, Allah, okay, does not see distinctions of states. Therefore, God, according to Islam, does not recognize the boundaries of Palestine. There is no such thing. For a Muslim to make and put boundaries over the world of God is by itself a sort of heresy. And even if we will want to give this specific land a name, we will call it by the name of Israel, as the people of Israel are called in Arabic, in the Quran, the Bnei Israel. Okay? So in Islam there is no such concept as Palestine. From where came the concept of Palestine? From where is this word? Is it an Arabic word? Is it a word in Arabic? By the way, the name Gaza, people think it's a name in Arabic, it's a Palestinian name. It is not. It is a name from the Bible, from the Holy Bible, from the Holy Jewish Bible. Much before there were Palestinians, much before there was the religion of Islam. It is before the times of Muhammad, many years of the Prophet of Islam. And God forbid that I would say anything bad about Islam or its Prophet. But I'm just mentioning chronology. The name of Gaza is not an Arabic name. It is a name from Hebrew. It's a Hebrew name. And Gaza is a Hebrew city from the Bible. Before there were Muslims and Arabs. Maybe not before Arabs, but before Muslims. So from where does come this name Palestine? If it doesn't come from Muslim sources, and it doesn't come from Arabic sources, what is the origin of the name Palestine? I mean, they claim to be Muslims, so they should follow Muslim doctrines, not foreign doctrines. The name Palestine comes from Rome, from the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire gave this name to the region of the land of Israel against God. God called it Israel, even in the Quran, the land of the Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel. And that is the name God gave to this land, also in the Quran. Calling the land of Israel, Palestine, is against the Quran, is against Allah. So if you're not so Muslim like Arafat, I can understand this. But if you are devout, radical, Muslim, even if you want this land for yourself, you cannot call it in a name that is opposite than the name it was given in the Quran. You are committing a crime against your own religion. Because you see, there is two different things. There is the term Palestinian, and there is the term Muslim. And Hamas tried to make a fusion between these two things that doesn't really hold up. It has a really huge flaw, that it is both anti-Palestinian and anti-Muslim. And that is why the Muslim world does not support them to this extent, as you think. If, to be honest, a lot of people in the Muslim world that are true Muslims, don't want anything to do with this thing, because it is anti-Muslim. You see, so let's go back to this name of Palestine. And again, I'm not passing criticism, God forbid, I'm not passing criticism over Islam, and I am also not passing criticism over Palestinians, over the identity of any person of the identity of his culture and the cultures that he loves and the religions that he believes in and his identity and what is in his heart. I'm just saying that there are certain things that each one by itself makes sense. But artificially fusing two things that don't mix up together, this does not make sense. And this is exactly what Hamas is doing. Okay? They are fusing Palestinian identity with radical global Muslim identity. And these two things are a contradiction. They are inner contradiction that these people clearly feel within their souls and within their confusion, their own confusion, which drives them nuts, drives them crazy, because it makes no sense. It is a paradox even without Israel. These people are tortured by the burden of the fusion of two mixing, contradictory identities that are clashing within themselves. It's a very painful thing to live in such a way as a society. And let me explain more. Palestinian name is originated in the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire in Islam is considered symbol of heresy, symbol of infidels. Rome is considered the epitome of evil, not Rome, the Rome as we know it today, but Rome as a concept of the Roman Empire. Not believing in God, not believing in Allah, not believing in anything. And they are the ones who gave the name Palestine to the land. And this name remained under the Christian occupation of the land of Israel. When first caliphs that came to Israel and released Israel, the land of Israel, from the Christian occupation of the land of Israel, they were not anti-Jewish. The first caliphs that Hamas admires, they were not anti-Jewish. In fact, under the first caliphate, the first caliphs, yes, which are the founders of Islam, after Muhammad, yes, they are the ones that helped forge Islam as it is. And after they conquered Jerusalem, they were very, very tolerant in the beginning toward Jews, with which they cooperated to such an extent that the first mayor of Jerusalem under Islamic law was Jewish. It's fact in the history. And Jews could go to Temple Mount to pray, to such an extent that the first caliphate wanted to reinstitute the Jewish temple. That's historical fact. Okay? So, how did the Arab population came to the word to be called Palestinians again? Because again, we come back to Arafat. And Arafat and others before him also started pumping this name Palestinian because Arafat wanted a non-Muslim identity to the people of Palestine. He was secular. So he could not call them Muslim Arabs because he was not Muslim by himself. And it would lower his political power because he has no power as a Muslim. So he gave the Palestinians, instead of calling them Arab Israelis or Arab Muslims living within the land of Israel as the Quran dictates, it devoid him of any political power. So he glorified this name Palestinian, which is against the Quran. I have no problem with this if you want to have, it's not up to me to decide for a person his religion or his non-religion. But for Arafat, I can understand why it was for his interest to take a secular name like Palestinian instead of the name Muslim. Yeah, Muslim identity. But when you would have asked Arafat, what does it mean to be Palestinian? You asked the PLO. You claim that you are Palestinians. From where did you took this name? They will tell you that this is the name of the original inhabitants of the land according to what is written in the Bible. That's the origin of the name. before Rome, in the times of the Bible, in the time of King David, in the time of the Jewish Bible. Like Goliath, the Philistine. That is what they would tell you. That the Philistines are documented in the Bible as the original inhabitants of the land. And if Arafat said this, I understand. But if you are Muslim, this is complete heresy. Because also according to the Quran, these initial inhabitants of the land are the enemies of God. In the Quran, the Philistines are the enemies of God. As a Muslim, if you read the Quran, the name Philistines, the name Plishtim, the name Palestinians, is a contradictory to the Islam, because it literally means enemies of Allah. In the Quran, the Philistines, that Arafat viewed as the root of his identity, are a nation which was the enemies of Prophet Dawood, salam alayhi wa salam, the Prophet, the King David, King of Israel, in our words. So Hamas is anti-Islamic when they take upon themselves the name and the identity of a nation that clearly in the Quran is marked as the enemies of God. Goliath the Philistine, that Arafat maybe identifies with, that Abu Mazen maybe identifies with, as the roots, the cultural roots of these nations that are non-Arab, non-Muslim, non-whatever. Pre-Islam, even maybe pre-Judaism. Okay. But for a Muslim to take upon this name, this is heresy. But the problem is that Hamas are very not well educated. They are not educated. They're not educated in Islam also. They are clueless militias. Miserable actually, because they are their own enemies. Their identity is a mixture of two things that contradict each other: Palestinian and Muslim. Of course, there is ways to reconcile the identities of many people, but to slaughter in such a way in the name of such a contradictory ideology, supporting this is supporting something sick. Is supporting something that is sick against itself, and it is a sickness that can spread to the whole world. This confusion spreads into the whole world. Now, it shouldn't be so complicated. In my eyes, and in the eyes of many, any Muslim that lives within the Holy Land of Israel should see himself blessed to live in a place which is mentioned in his religion, like any Jew that lives there feels blessed. And if this would have been peaceful, everybody could have lived in coexistence, actually with complete understanding between each other, because it's very simple. The religions, in truth, can easily live in coexistence, one with the other. But all this mess, all this confusion, all this misunderstanding, it's extremely sad. And in short, the people from outside of Israel, from outside of this region, that see this through the filters of the CNN and the media and so on, and they know just that it's Palestinians against Jews and whatever. If you will see this through the real filters, through the real things, the way they are, in more detail, you see that the situation is much more complex. And Hamas in general is extremely vicious organization that is justifying its viciousness simply by an ideology that doesn't add up. And by supporting it, you are increasing the amount of pain and suffering, including to them, including to this population. You are pushing them to continue in something that is harmful for everybody. It is harmful for the whole region. It is harmful for Israel, but it is also harmful for the rest of the Palestinians, for the Christian population of the Middle East. It is harmful for Egypt and for the whole region. And letting people be pushed like this into a religious war, fundamentalist war, just in order to satisfy urges and hatred that is sometimes comes from, like, for instance, I don't know, people in Europe that are non-Muslims and so on. This is extremely immoral thing to do, especially towards the Palestinian population and especially towards the whole population of the Middle East. And I hope that it is a bit of food for thought. Again, strictly facts, no moral judgment whatsoever, just facts, correct or wrong, right or wrong. And supporting something that is wrong on the level of facts can never be beneficial to anybody, no matter who you support or who you not support. Are you pro-Israel, are you pro-Palestine, are you pro whatever? But supporting a mistake is always a mistake. Okay, hope that this was useful. Have a good evening. Until next